Well, we are still waiting for US President Joe Biden to speak about Afghanistan, and we'll bring you that when it happens. Well, the evacuation from Afghanistan, of course, is just the beginning of a long journey for many refugees. And as difficult as it was to get into and out of Kabul airport, much bigger challenges could lie ahead as they try to establish a new life in a foreign country. Well, Krish O'Mara Vignarajah is the president and CEO of the Lutheran Immigration and Refugee Service and joins us now live from Maryland. Good to have you with us.
Thanks for having me.
So, as I understand, you've been meeting with families from Afghanistan as they've arrived in the US. From those you've been speaking to, how are they doing and were they able to bring their families with them?
Yeah, I was at Fort Lee a couple weeks ago, and it was incredible to see families come together. I was actually working especially closely with a family of 10, which was the largest family that was on the base that day. They come and they have this sense of mixed emotions. You can see a palpable sense of relief and hope for a brighter and safer future here in the US. But you can also sense fear and sadness for the family that they left behind. So many are leaving parents and siblings behind because they're not eligible to come. Cousins, extended family, friends. Essentially the only home they've ever known.
Yeah, and it's so tough for them not knowing what's going on for family members back home in Afghanistan. I'm wondering if you know how many families have arrived in the US so far from Afghanistan over the last couple of months, and how are they being resettled, and what is their immediate need right now?
Yeah, so we know that there are nearly 60,000 families that have been evacuated from Afghanistan. We know that thousands have arrived here in the US, but candidly, we're still trying to figure out exactly the precise number, knowing that there is going to be a significant increase in the next few days, the next few weeks. They will initially be located at military bases throughout the U.S. So, as I mentioned, Fort Lee in Virginia, Fort Bliss in Texas is going to be receiving a significant number in the next few weeks. Fort McCoy in Wisconsin, as well as Fort Dix in New Jersey. So they'll be there for a few days, perhaps a little bit longer than that, before they get to their ultimate destination in states across the country.
And for those you've been speaking to, just shed a bit more light on it for us in terms of their fears for their families back home in Afghanistan who weren't able to evacuate, and what they think about the withdrawal as it's played out.
Yeah, the last 24 hours has been horrific. What they've heard from their families are that very few have a safe passage to the airport. Once they arrive at the airport, they face chaos, violence. Some have been beaten and battered. I had a couple examples of families who have said, we're not going to go back and try again, that we'd rather be shot dead by the Taliban than be trampled getting into the airport. And then, of course, in the last several hours, we've heard the accounts of people who are indicating that Afghan nationals are no longer getting into the airport and will be allowed to be evacuated. And so the families that we talk to, they're incredibly fearful. They have explained Taliban going door to door, with guns, looking for American-affiliated Afghans as well as Afghans that serve the coalition forces. And so this is going to get worse, much worse, before it gets better.
Absolutely horrific. And of course, we know that thousands, tens of thousands of people are displaced within the country. Just in recent months, 270,000 since January alone. For those left behind who may not have any chance of evacuating, especially given that the US is set to withdraw within a week, what can be done to help them at this point in time?
Yeah, unfortunately, while the military response has been incredible in the last several days, that avenue is going to be closing, it seems, in just the next couple days. It seems, to the extent that there are very limited options, one might be trying to find access and crossing the border into Pakistan. But obviously, what we know are that the Taliban are controlling the borders. We've heard very limited accounts of people who are actually even been able to go across Iran to reach Turkey. But honestly, between getting out of Afghanistan through any of the potentially porous borders, which is very unlikely, and also looking to private means, meaning charter flights, veterans groups that have mobilized and are trying to identify people who are especially vulnerable and undertake these extraction operations, the prospects are looking dimmer and dimmer.
Yeah, it's such a tough situation. For those already in the US or around the world that are getting some sort of refugee help, what can people do watching right now? What can people do to help?
Yeah, obviously these have been some very dark days, but I've got to tell you what has been fueling my staff at Lutheran Immigration and Refugee Service is the outpouring of support. We've had 33,000 volunteers come through the lirs.org website to volunteer. People are willing to donate money, food, diaper kits, basic hygiene supplies. They're offering up apartments that they may have that are vacant, rooms in their own houses, lawyers offering pro bono services. And so these are exactly the kinds of things that we're going to need. This is very time intensive. We need volunteers to go to the airport to pick up new Afghan families that are arriving. We need volunteers to help furnish apartments as we try to set them up, even stock the refrigerator with culturally familiar foods. Drive these individuals to their English as a second language classes or medical appointments. And so if you go to the lirs.org website, you can sign up there. We're going to continue to put out specific needs as they come up. In the last 24 hours, grocery cards have even been important.
So still plenty of things that people can do to help. We appreciate your time and all the work you're doing. Krish O'Mara Vignarajah, thanks so much for your time. We wish you all the very best.
Thank you.
I'm Lynda Kinkade. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. Stay with CNN. We will continue our coverage of the situation in Afghanistan as we await to hear from US President Biden. Quest Means Business is up next.